I guess, our methodology is very technical, really. So it's not straightforward to explain not only to the lay audience, but also to psychologists, sometimes to social scientists, the kind of the intricacies of what we do. So students in particular, I think, need quite a lot of convincing why statistics and methodology are important and why it is important to study and understand it. They kind of seem quite overwhelmed by it all, thinking, oh God, I came here because I want to help people. That's the most common answer I hear, and they make me to do statistics. That's terrible. But actually, I try to reason with students and to explain that, for instance, imagine you are a practitioner and you are, for instance, in a clinical practice, and you need to make, for example, some diagnostic decisions, and you're using some measurement tool, which is, I don't know, somebody gave to you, or you bought it, or your practice bought it, or whatever it might be. So you're using some tool for screening depression or anything else. How do you know that what you measure is actually valid, it's reliable? How do you know you can rely on those scores? How you know you can compare them over time? All of those things, aren't you interested in understanding what you're actually doing rather than just kind of treating it as a black box? And that usually somewhat persuades people that this is really quite important. I mean, the very first lecture of my master's course, which I teach, which is statistics and methodology. It's quite advanced, and it is for all psychology programs, so including forensic psychology, developmental, cognitive, for all of the programs that we run. And I start my first lecture by challenging their perceptions of kind of basic analysis that they studied in their undergraduate degrees. And what I argue is to say, okay, you sometimes kind of went into such detail as to argue about, I don't know, second or third decimal point in your p-values, and picked up on those very specific and very intricate things. But what you, I bet, haven't considered is how your dependent variable, for example, I don't know, ambivalent sexism or whatever it might be, you were measuring, or you measured or were given, and for instance, you wanted to understand differences between groups, between males and females, or between other groups on that particular concept. So you were discussing the second decimal place in your p-value, but what I bet you haven't really thought about is how this thing that you were analyzing in the first place, how it was measured, whether the measure that you used made any sense, whether the questions you were asking to measure this thing made any sense, whether they were validated, how the measure was put together. So, and that usually somewhat shocks people and then we start course with that challenge, and then as we go through, because I teach psychometrics, and as I show them how things are measured and how often it's measured badly, and how many kind of blunders we make sometimes. So that's my argument why this is really so important.